Okay, so what sort of paranormal experiences have you had?
Well, okay, so I'm petting my cat. Yeah, so I was an atheist all my life until the last few years. I didn't believe in souls or spirituality or aliens or any of that. I figured aliens were out there somewhere in the wider cosmos, but if they were here, why weren't they sitting down on the White House lawn? There's all a bunch of muck. But then Lou Elizondo and those videos come out, and my mind is blown. I'm very intrigued. I do a lot of research. I don't have a day job, so I can just spend all my time doing this, researching this. And I have an obsessive personality, so of course I do. When my research gets me to Skinwalker Ranch, I discover the more paranormal, weirder aspects of all of this. So I investigate the paranormal, weirder aspects of this. I actually co-found a ghost hunting group, and I started doing ghost hunting because my research had led me to believe that ghosts were real. I did not believe they were spirits or souls. I thought these were extra dimensional side effects of alien presences because I had come to believe that aliens were real. So I started doing ghost hunting. I didn't believe that ghosts were actually spirits, but I started, having experiences. And in some of our ghost hunts, security footage showed the shadow beings. I've got that on camera.
Actually,
And
you got to say more about that. These are like the sleep paralysis, like Hat Man, that sort of thing.
yeah, they're huge black 8 foot tall beings that move weirdly. They're humanoid-ish, but they're kind of big black shadowy blobs. And they only you can only see them for like a second or two on each video. They pass across a hallway. That's when the security camera, the motion, they can actually trigger the motion detector on the security camera. So, which is fascinating. They go through the hallway, and then the light goes off because they seem to draw energy from the electricity, and then the light goes back on. So that's what you see in 3 or 4 videos. I don't have the rights to those videos, but I could show you some other time when we're not recording. So, and there are orbs and all sorts of stuff. So as I had, these experiences, I had a ghost cat. Yeah, for about 6 months, periodically, I had a ghost cat, and he would rub up against my leg. One time I was actually able to see him and hear him, and I started to have other experiences. So at this point, I started to believe in the spiritual. I had seen enough in my research and in my experiences to convince me these weren't alien artifacts from another dimension. Some of these events had the identities and spirits of deceased people. It did not seem likely to me that that was an alien technology. So I went online, I went to Google, and I said, "Do we have souls?" I didn't know what was going to come up. I mean, I really wasn't expecting anything. Near death experiences popped up. And so I, started doing a cursory dive into near death experiences. I had heard of them. There were, I figured they were the dying spasms of the brain, shooting weird psychedelic chemicals into you. And that's all it was. But as it turns out, since the advent of being able to bring people back from a heart attack 50 or 60 years ago, people have been scientifically
Mhm.
studying near death experiences for all of that time. And we have a great deal of data and information on near death experiences. And there's at least 6 different methods of corroborating these events. That is, they're not inventions of the mind. They are things people could not have known, even if they had been awake and present in their own bodies. Stuff that happened in another room, in a different part of the world, things they were able to corroborate, things that happened in the future that the beings on the other side told them was going to happen, that then did come to pass. There's different methods of corroborating these events. So I did a deep dive. I did just as deep a dive into near-death experiences as I did into alien abductions and the UFO phenomenon. And once I satisfied myself that this was real, I said, well, hell, I mean, if the spiritual was real, I've lived all my life with blinders on. I need to open my eyes and get involved, just like I had, co-founded a ghost hunting group. I started learning Reiki. I started trying to have out-of-body experiences. I started trying to commune with spirit directly, and I've had some success. I've had various events that have happened to me. I had a Kundalini awakening in February, which was,
Say more about like what that is and what it means.
well, Kundalini is the Hindu method or modality for enlightenment, for achieving enlightenment. I did not achieve enlightenment, or at least I did. I'm not aware of it, but it was an amazing event. It was a 5 hour long, pulses up your spine, you go into seizures. It's very nice. I can't, it was, yeah, it was an amazing, cosmic, joyous experience.
But you had to do something to like you to get that, right? You had to put in some sort of like mental discipline or spiritual discipline in order to have that experience, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, we can talk about my full Kundalini awakening another time. But yeah,
On your video, it's probably you probably click on
yeah,
the
go check out my video, right?
right.
But I'd be happy to talk about that another time. That's like a whole nother conversation. But there are different because so I had this experience. It was an amazing, powerful, very physical experience. It wasn't like I had a moment of flash of insight or something. It was a very physical thing. It was like being hit by lightning. So once you've had that happen, there's no denying any of this. But the fascinating thing to me is that there's different modalities for enlightenment. There's you don't have to have a Kundalini awakening to achieve enlightenment, or like me, you could have a Kundalini awakening without achieving enlightenment. But like my acupuncturist, he achieved enlightenment, but with a totally different modality. It wasn't the Hindu version of it. I think he's a Buddhist, but he was meditating, and I don't think he was actively trying to have enlightenment, but he was, trying to open himself up, and he was meditating, and he felt a heat in his belly, and it rose up through the center of him and out the top of his head, and his third eye opened, and he had this moment of expanded awareness where he was able to see dimensions and spheres and was one with all things, which is what I'm hoping to achieve someday. It didn't happen for me at that time, but I can't complain about it. It was an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful for that experience. But there are different modalities for achieving enlightenment, and it's fascinating that they can all be real. So just like there's different modalities for hands-on healing, and yet they all work. So anyway, it's endlessly fascinating to me. And I can talk a lot more about those specific phenomena. But did I answer your question? I forgot what it was. I
Yeah,
go on tangents.
paranormal experiences. If you've had
Paranormal
any.
experience, ghost cat. I've had multiple communications. I had a download that was really interesting. And we were talking about frequencies earlier. And it was close to what you were saying. So I was in a meditative state, and I was trying to make peace with the universe because I do Reiki. Like I said, once I got into all of this, I wanted to actually flex my spiritual muscles and interact with the spiritual. So I started learning Reiki. And part of doing Reiki is you need to elevate yourself. You need to have a high vibration so you can channel this positive healing energy. And so you have, try to ascend to a place of love if you can. And I was having a hard time doing that, or at least I had a mental block. How can I, trust where this energy is coming from? How can I love the universe if there's so much bad things happening in the universe? And, on Earth, there's just so much horror. How can I feel all lovey-dovey and, open myself up to this stuff? So I put myself in a meditative state. I had never had any direct communications with spirit at that time. This was before my Kundalini awakening. And the download, if you want to call it that, the message that I received, which was the way it appeared in my head, was one word at a time in my own inner voice, a few seconds apart, like pearls on a string. And it was, I think, 10 words. You can count them. Maybe to see if that's right. It was the universe is a frequency. It must vibrate to exist. Now, I understood that to mean it wasn't spirit trying to explain quantum mechanics to me. It was trying to do it in a metaphorical sense, trying to get me to realize that there is good and bad, yin and yang, right and wrong, good and evil. It must vibrate to exist. So it all must exist in order for any of it to exist. So another way of saying that is in the future, and this is a download I'm not 100% sure on, but beauty only exists as it is juxtaposed against horror. And so anyway, so that is the download that I received at that time.
Yeah. There's no concept of light without the concept of darkness.
Exactly.
Right.
And so I was able to make my peace with the universe at that time. And it's not easy. There's still so much badness, and it's hard to wrap your head around how that must be possible in order for the good also to be possible. However, I like to think that it's only the potential for darkness that must exist, and that surely we can ascend and do better and get rid of the actual darkness itself, as long as the potential is there. Then the potential for the light and beauty and grace is just as high as the potential for darkness. So that's what I like to believe, is that we can get to that state. People call it the fifth density or the fourth density, fifth dimension. There's a lot of that kind of stuff if you're aware of that whole thing. So hopefully we'll get there one of these days. So that's one paranormal experience I had, or spiritual experience, was this download, to this day, it's the only communication that I've had with spirit that it was very clear that it was not coming from me, and that it was really addressed my question and helped me. Some of my interactions have been less helpful. I feel like that's another conversation, but one thing I really have enjoyed about my interactions is there seems to be a lot of humor. Whoever I'm interacting with seems to have a good sense of humor, and it makes it playful, and I like that. And so then I had recently I went to do you know what ayahuasca is?
You've done ayahuasca, so it's the plant that has DMT embedded in it.
Yeah.
The spirit molecule, like DMT is the spirit molecule. Ayahuasca is a plant, right?
Right. So I think it's two plants combined. If I'm probably getting it wrong, but I think it's two.
You know more about ayahuasca than me. Yeah.
So one plant produces the DMT, and the other, and your body has a natural response to block the DMT when it comes up. So you don't get overloaded for whatever reason. You have a natural. So one of the plants blocks the blocker, so that your body is actually able to experience DMT for an extended amount of time. So so I went to a ayahuasca retreat a couple of months ago.
Well, so do tell, because this is something at some point in my life I definitely want to do. Did you do it in the States?
Yeah, I did. I did it in the States.
Okay, because I have a friend who wants to do it, like in South America, and I'm like, dude, I don't, I don't feel safe like leaving the country.
Well, no, I totally get that. I think there's some very good guys that can do it in Peru and the Amazon. And the guy that I did it with is from the Amazon and from Peru, and he's invited me to go do an actual 9-day retreat in Peru. And I think I'm going to do that. But
when do you plan? Like when? Anyway, we'll talk about this after. I'm curious.
Okay. Yeah. So a 9-day, it's only going to be 4 journeys with ayahuasca, but there's other plant medicines involved in those 9 days.
Going back to the ayahuasca, you went to this retreat in the US.
Yeah. So it was a 3-night retreat. And so we did the ayahuasca 3 nights in a row.
And this is in Texas?
In Texas.
Okay.
And I can't tell you where.
No, no. Well, that's all. Actually, you got to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
So there's 2 shamans. One of them is the Amazon shaman, and he's awesome. And then there is the American white guy.
Well, you have a friend. You have a friend who went to this.
Yes.
You have a friend that went to this, and you're relaying that experience of that close personal friend.
Okay. That's right. No, oh, no. I don't mind saying that I did. I don't mind. So I
Controlled
talk
sub-
about it on YouTube.
it's a controlled substance, my friend.
Well, okay.
So you either did it outside of the United States or your friend did it.
Yeah, this is drugs are bad. Don't do this. This is theoretical.
Yes.
Okay. So, but
Your friend.
my friend had this amazing experience with ayahuasca. It was transformative personally, but I also received a divine healing, medical, physical healing for a chronic crippling condition that I've had all my life. I've had, I don't want to really get into that right now, but it's an unpleasant physical condition that I've had all my life. And it's very, very debilitating. And
It's gone now?
Gone.
What would have, like, have you gone to a doctor and have they said, like, what the heck happened?
I don't need to. My body did not function correctly before. And to know more about that would be to learn more about my intestines than you probably want to know. But I guess to explain it, I have to tell you at least a little bit. So my intestines did not move on their own. They moved a little bit when I was in my single digits. By the time I, as a teenager, it became a crisis. I got on these experimental medicines given to me by one of the best in his field, gastroenterologist from Houston. And after 5 years of taking the experimental medicine, I had some side effects, and they turned out it caused cancer in lab rats, so they discontinued it. So yeah, that's charming. So luckily, in my early 20s, I married a Chinese woman, and she was able to get to me on some Chinese herbs. They were able to keep my system going because the medicine that you can get in the West, there's only two active ingredients. There's the red pill or the pink pill and the blue pill. There's different brands, and they're both habit forming. So you can't take them very often. So I was not getting by very well on those pills. Fecal infections, it was really painful. It was just horrible. So I was in talks to go to the surgeon to have my intestines removed when my wife.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was, so when my wife prevailed upon me to get on these Chinese herbs, and they have kept me alive and going and without having surgery for 20 years. But there's been no fun. There's constant gas and bloating, and it's just my life has revolved around this thing. So I was not expecting to be healed at the ayahuasca retreat. That is not why I went. I went for other personal reasons. I really wanted to connect spiritually and have an out of body experience and, have my enlightenment. I didn't have that. What I got was a divine healing. And
did you see anything when you took,
when my friend took the ayahuasca? Yeah. No, I did not see. I didn't see anything that wasn't there. Well, the second night I kind of did. I had a really bad trip the second night. It's a challenging substance. The ayahuasca is challenging. It's not.
What does bad trip mean? Like just physiological, like scary? What?
Well, how versed are you in hallucinogens?
I mean,
or how versed is your friend in hallucinogens?
I've never partaken.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you can have a bad trip and it can wig you out. You can get paranoid. You can get scared. You can get freaked out, and ayahuasca was different. It was a totally different thing than anything I'd ever experienced before. And I've done it all the hallucinogens, and
like psilocybin,
LSD, peyote, San Pedro, marijuana is a low level, is in the category of hallucinogen. The worst trips I've ever had have been on marijuana. Or my friend has been, well, I guess it's legal in a lot of places. Yeah. So
where I am, it's perfectly legal. So.
Right.
Right.
I moved out of Oregon a month before it became legal. Yeah. Anyway, I hated Oregon, but damn it, that would have been cool. So but ayahuasca was very different. I have never seen anything that wasn't there in anything that I've taken. It alters my perception. It heightens my perception or changes it or puts me in an altered state of awareness. So I perceive things differently than they are. But I've never seen, like, you see in the cartoons or the movies, the dancing, elephants or mushrooms or whatever,
Yeah, like the mocking court jesters that Joe
right,
Rogan
right,
sees. Right.
right. Yeah, but I know other people that have done ayahuasca and they have totally gone out of body and had seen things that they wouldn't have seen. They've gone to other planets and bar hopped, right? Right. That sounds like fun. So in between purging, of course, because it makes you purge.
That's the one thing I don't like about it is you're like constantly purging. Whereas DMT is just, you just take it, you're done in 15 minutes, but it feels
I've
like
never actually smoked the DMT. Have you done that?
no, I haven't done any hallucinogens. Yeah.
But
I mean, I would be, again, it's one of those things that got put on this list, right? But there's not really like many harmful effects that at least I've been able to research. It seems like it's.
I really think that as challenging as ayahuasca can be, that everybody that's able to can take it. There are some people that have psychological issues and they shouldn't take it. It'd be damaging to them. But I think it could benefit so many people. And as my shaman was saying, ayahuasca is only one plant, as his people believe, that exist in a cosmology, as his words, of plant medicines. So and when he invited me to Peru, and we were going to explore some of those other plant medicines. So, and I'm sure the Amazon is teeming with, stuff that we don't even know about.
Yeah, but like, is there any portion of the Amazon in Peru?
I don't know. That's where his home is.
Well, that's up in the mountains. That's like super high altitude.
Yeah. So yeah, but the ayahuasca plant, and I think the practice of it comes from the Amazon, but it is widely practiced in Peru.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that intrigues me because it seems like I mean, I don't know if it's your own imagination or thoughts or if it's something outside of you. Could be a mixture of both. Who knows? But it's certainly
my intestines function now.
Yeah, that is crazy. That's nuts.
That's not. Yeah, no, that's a real deal. I received a divine healing.
Sorry, my son.
No, I know it sounds crazy, and it sounds.
No, I believe you. Like if you've had this debilitating condition and it's gone right now, like that's powerful.
And that is not why I went there. I did not expect that. That was not one of my intentions of going there.
Well, you really should go to a doctor and just document, because they have your file, right, where you had that condition. You should just document it and say, hey, like, just so you know, I did this and now I don't have this.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to talk about something that happened to me this morning. So, to my knowledge, throughout my entire life, and I've been around for, well over 40 years, not quite as long as half a century, but I'm closer to there than I am in the mid 40s, or at least I'm closer to there than I am to 40, let's just say. And, every night I go out and just kind of look at the stars and just look around. And I live near an airfield. So I'm in Northern California in the East San Francisco Bay. And where I live, there's a lot of air traffic that comes in. And usually, the traffic pattern is, I live on kind of the downslope of a hill, but I live on a hill. And usually the air traffic pattern is, I'm just going to kind of, point it from like behind me. I'll just use behind me, I guess well, no, if I'm facing it, it'll be easier. So if I'm looking to my left, right, there's kind of a tree line, and that's kind of where the aircraft kind of rise and then fly either over my house or kind of behind it. And then there's a, airfield kind of down down the hill. I can see the blinking red light where the airfield is. And that's, closer to the bay, right? I can see kind of the backside of the bay from my house. Or not from my house, but if I go up the hill, I can see the backside of the bay. So, I went outside, and I'm standing out looking up my hill, and there's a parasol, which is like one of those umbrella things that's closed, and it's just directly in front of me. It was a cloudy night, but there was relatively good illumination. Might have to check to see if the moon was out. I couldn't see the moon, but there was like a glow enough that you could see reasonably well. All the houses in my light had been turned off. I turned them off before I went outside. So it was dark. My eyes had some time to adjust. And as I'm sitting there staring up the hill, I see this. It must have been between 0.5, half a second, to 1.5 seconds. It darts up from behind me. That parasol is kind of slightly to my left. It passes the parasol. I would estimate it was probably about 4 to 6 feet away from me. And in terms of the altitude, it was maybe 6 to 9 feet in the air. It kind of bounces in, down, up, and then over the hill, gone. It was not transparent. I could see it with my naked eye. And to be completely fair, like it happened so fast, I'm still not sure that I even saw it. But it had like an orange, yellowish glow, and then fringed on kind of a red-orange fringe. It looked like a little. It was about the size of a basketball, and it looked like a mini sun. It just wasn't. It wasn't as bright. There was no sound whatsoever. I wasn't scared. It just happened so quickly, like that. To the point where I'm trying, like, when you see something, you're like, your mind's still trying to piece together what you just saw. You're thinking, did somebody turn on a flashlight behind me? Did somebody, and I couldn't find any other source of light that it could have possibly been. It was just in and out. And it was between the hours of 1 and 2 a.m. is when I saw this thing. Shortly thereafter, it was almost as if, well, I'll get back to that because I'm about to engage in speculation. Shortly thereafter, another flight came up over the hill and then behind me and just kind of continued its path toward the airfield. It was clearly an airplane, with the blinking lights, etc. And it was distinctly not this other thing, which was much closer, but much faster. And like I said, it was so brief that I'm still unsure what I saw, but it was also timed perfectly so that it was gone seconds before the aircraft kind of broke the seal of the kind of the hill behind my house and started flying over. So,
do you think the people in the aircraft could have seen it?
No. Nope.
Okay. If it had delayed, if it hadn't been as fast, if it had still been within sight of the aircraft, could they have seen it?
Yes.
Okay.
But it was almost as if it was in and out before the aircraft crested the hill behind my house.
That is really interesting when you think about what that means in terms of what we understand about the physics of these orbs, because a lot of them seem to come that they can phase in and out of reality. So if that's the case and it wanted to hide from the plane, I think that might say something about its capabilities, why it couldn't phase out at that time. Maybe there's some reason, some limitation on its technologies or abilities.
Yeah,
why it wanted to stay in our plane instead of just phasing out if it could have done that.
Well, it may have, right? It just, so what happened was it zoomed in and then over the hill and then gone. So it could have phased out. it could have just gone beneath the hill, but it was, again, in 1 to 2 seconds, or sorry, in half second to 1.5 seconds, I would estimate, sorry, I'm just doing the kind of the distance. It would have kind of gone up a hill and then down because it was kind of moving nap of the earth. It would have covered that distance in, or sorry, I need to estimate the distance. It would have covered a football field in a second.
Okay, so much faster than a drone could go.
Oh, it was not a drone, man.
Yeah. There was no noise.
No. It was not. Like, if there's one thing I'm certain of, it was absolutely, positively not a drone. There's no noise, and a drone doesn't move like that. It was like if I got a laser pointer and just went boop.
Yeah. That's fascinating. What do you think it was? What does your gut tell you?
I don't know.
Because I asked that because another school of thought on this.
The other thing I want to make very clear, right? Like, I'm not on medication. I wasn't drinking. I didn't just wake up. I wasn't dreaming. I just walked outside, and it was like you just see like a flash of something, like a glimpse of something, and it's gone. And you don't have enough. And in fact, like, my estimation of 0.1 to 1 second or 1.5 seconds might be an overestimation, right? Because sometimes when you see something like that, time tends to slow a bit because it's so like your mind is still trying to put it together. So,
well, okay. So there's a one thought that phenomenon typically only shows itself to people that it wants to show itself to. I was at a UFO Skywatch recently, and 6 people were able to interact with the phenomenon and see stuff and have these experiences, but there were 20 of us in the group. So over half of the group did not see or experience these things, but 6 people did, and they all corroborate each other's stories. And you see that you repeated time and again when you listen to people CE5s, and that's what this was. So the phenomenon will show itself to some people in a group and not others. So the fact that you were able to see it, it makes me wonder if it didn't want you to see it.
well, and the other thing too that's worth mentioning is, like, this was not through any optics at all, right? This was naked eye at night in, those, reasonably decent illumination, conditions. So again, there was cloud cover. It was windy. The clouds were actually moving earlier that night. They were moving scary fast. Like, I've never seen clouds move that fast, right? Where you just see this like giant cloud, and it would just like that fast across the sky. But that was before I had gone outside before then. But the wind at least was blowing at several thousand feet, apparently fairly like fast enough for the clouds to move that fast, and then they just dissipate, and you could see it in real time. It was bizarre, but I don't know what it. I don't know what it was. Right? Like, I could speculate all sorts of things, but I kind of, in fact, like the crazy, we talk about synchronicities and things like that. So right before our interview, there was an interview with Jim Semivan, right? The former CIA guy who I think works for To the Stars Academy.
Set up to.
He was also, that's the other thing that I think came out. So Gary Nolan did this interview where he was looking at the caudate putamen, right? Which is that area of your brain where he looked at people who were former remote viewers to see if they had anything different. So I think Semivan in that interview, because Nolan talks in a separate interview, talks about examining a husband and wife team. And I think you were saying that, well, I don't know if you were saying this, but
I did talk a little bit about it. I don't think I named the part of the brain because I couldn't remember it, but yeah, Dr. Eric Bard was talking about that a little bit. The scientist from Ranch.
Yeah. So anyway, he was talking about, he did a project on several of these people, but I think because HIPAA, he couldn't say who they were. I think Jim Semivan just came out and said it was him and his wife. But regardless, going back to the synchronicity comment, right before this interview, and again, this happened, what time is it? So this event happened to me maybe 14 to 15 hours ago. Okay. So this is relatively fresh, and I'm still trying to, because again, I had no negative emotions and no positive emotions. It was just like, did I just like, it would have been like somebody flashed a headlight at me, but there's no cars. Like, it would not be like I face a park behind my house. So there's no cars out there. There's no roads. So that's an impossible explanation. But those are the thoughts you have, because your brain is going through a Rolodex. Again, this is a remote viewing issue because you don't have words that would be able to describe what you may have just seen. You try to go through that Rolodex of reasonable explanations. So I don't know, like, what could it be? Could it have been could it have been a will-o'-the-wisp? Sure. Like, just like, could it have been swamp gas? Well, I don't live anywhere near a swamp, but yeah, sure. Could it have been a portal? I don't know. Extra dimensional entity, like a UAP, a like deceased relative. I have no idea.
Do you know what ball lightning is?
Tell me more about it.
Well, it's I want to say it's a plasma. I'm people that know about physics, please, tell me about how it works on the physics of it. But yeah, it's this round, it's a spherical electrical thing. It's got little lightning things shooting off of it, and
Yeah,
it's fast, and it's it can be different sizes, but yay big.
Yeah, no lightning shooting
okay.
off.
Okay, yeah.
Like pure. It looked like if you took like a cartoonish picture of the sun, like, not cartoonish, but if you took like imagine the sun with a smooth surface, right, where it's just like a pure orb of that color with a fringe, not like a violent solar flare like fringe, but just glowing fringe. Like, I could probably replicate it in my video editor, right? Like a reenactment.
It does not sound like ball lightning at all.
No. I mean, if what ball lightning is, if you see like electricity shooting off it, there's definitely not that. It was definitely not that.
So do you think it was alien?
I mean, how would I know? How would I be able to tell?
But it probably wasn't us. You don't think it was a black ops government thing, do you?
No, we don't have that. We do not have that technology.
Okay. So,
I mean, just again, 100 meters. What's 100 meters in, like, 100 meters per second? Actually, that's not that fast, right?
Faster than I could go.
Yeah, but that's not like a bullet is faster than that.
Right. Yeah, not bullet fast, but faster than any drone is going to go.
Oh yeah, no, a drone can't maneuver like that.
Yeah,
it's not. It was 100% not a drone. Like, a drone cannot maneuver like that.
So this is a non-mundane object of some sort, whether that's other dimensional or ultra terrestrial.
Unless there's some way to refract light in a way that confuses your senses, right? Like, I'm reaching because it happens so fast.
Yeah. But you could see the point. You could see the actual object. It wasn't refracting off of something.
It just seemed to like zoop gone.
Yeah. Because my one and only UFO sighting was a little bit similar in that it was a specific point in the sky that I could see, and it was very quick, and it was over like that.
Yeah, and you weren't like, when you're surprised like that, right? Like, you're not expecting it, so you're still trying to figure out what just happened.
Okay, so Jim Semivan has talked. We were talking about it earlier, that how it could be dangerous to interact with these.
So that's the synchronicity that I never got to.
The scarier ones are the orbs, because there's not a lot of literature on the orbs, and they are very dangerous. And don't invite them in. I always like to say, they get close, say something to the orbs and stay away, or get in the house or get away from them. They're quite dangerous. And they could be almost anything. They have morphed. We have a lot of literature on them morphing into, beings, sometimes morphing into ships, coming together with other orbs, things along those lines. But there is no central clearinghouse for any of this. MUFON is the only place. I mean, I tell people to go to MUFON and do that.
So like 14 to 15 hours after the incident, right before we had our call, I find this thing on Twitter. And, I guess in the post-production, maybe we'll play it. But where he talks about, because the one thing I did do was, the thought that I had, and I would have, if I knew I could project it, it was if you just try, if you tried to just show me something, please come back and show me again. I want to make sure what I saw was real. Right. That's the thought that I kind of, that I had. And in his video, he said if you've ever seen one of these things, they can be highly dangerous. Project a thought to go away, and then you should go inside immediately. I did the exact opposite of what he recommended that I do.
I would too.
But I didn't feel threatened. I wasn't even scared. Like, it was just, and there was no sound.
Yeah, no. So would you be tempted to do like a CE5 kind of thing to try to summon it, if you will, or invoke it, or invite it to?
So I tried something like that months ago, right? And like nothing. And it wasn't, I didn't do it in my house. I did it kind of in the park behind my house, but nothing happened, right? But it was also because in the place where I am, there's a ton of air traffic. So, if the phenomena is real and if that's possible, there would be no way for them to do it in a way that didn't expose them to everybody else. Right. Because there's so many, and by the way, and if somebody's thinking, oh, well, that could have been an aircraft, like it was 6 to 9 feet away from me.
Right. Yeah.
Like above or above the ground, and maybe 4 to 6 feet outward. And it was pretty close, but it happened so fast that if it were a drone, I would have heard something. If it were an aircraft, I would have smelled the jet fuel. I mean, it was that close.
Right.
And believe me, I know, because I know what jet fuel smells like, because I used to be on an M1 and we used JP8 to power those things. So, and you could smell an M1 before you can hear it. So, and by the way, there's no smell, nothing. It was just like this flash of light that could have been half a second to 1.5 seconds, but likely even shorter than that because it was so fast.
Well, that's fascinating. I love orbs. I first discovered orbs when I was ghost hunting. We would catch them on camera.
And this was different too. Like, it was not transparent. Like, it was solid.
Well, there seems to be at least 2 different categories of orbs, right? There's the spiritual orb that you get in ghost hunting, which, may be a spirit or something, or, the imprint that a spirit makes in this reality when it's in the other reality. But there's also the alien orb. And I think there's a lot of crossover as well. But, like one of the Navy videos that has come out is the spherical ship that went into the water. And you can see it vanishing into the water and kind of gradually. And so that's, is that an orb? It's a sphere. It's not overly large, maybe the size of a car, but I associate that more with alien as opposed to spiritual. So, the one that you saw, I try to categorize it. Is that more of the alien, or maybe other dimensional would be a better way of saying that? Or is it more spiritual? Although I think spiritual is also other dimensional in a sense, but they do seem to be slightly different.
Yeah. So it felt to me that it was more like, if I put a spectrum on material versus non-physical, I would have put it somewhere in the middle, but closer to the material realm, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Now, Now, the only other explanation I could think of is if there was some sort of a spotlight. No, but even that would have, like, I would have been able to. It would have had a translucent. Like, I would still be able to see the ground if there was a spotlight.
Right.
Like, it was solid.
Right.
So I don't know.
There would have to be some technology that could, create a hologram or something like that. That could represent itself in a ball of light that can move that fast, which, you could see a hologram doing that. But again, why would somebody have gone through all that trouble, even if that technology was available to do that? How would that make sense?
I'd be curious what your explanation is, because I like.
Well, okay, I've got.
I know you have a theory. This is a theory. This is a theory. Like, you can say that, because I'm curious. I'm super curious about, because again, I am open to the possibility. I'm not open to the possibility that I'm crazy. I'm not crazy.
No. I believe.
But I am open to the possibility that there could be some physical phenomena that I am not accounting for, that some lensing effect or something like that I'm not accounting for. So I'm open to somebody coming in and saying, like, what you see is just, some scattering of light on something or other. I don't think it was, but it's possible.
I believe what you saw is a real thing, and I lean more toward the metaphysical, spiritual side of things on this one, but who knows? But I have to ask you a couple of personal questions. And if you don't mind, has anybody close to you recently passed away?
Nope.
Okay. Have you had any, do you meditate?
I've tried to,
Okay.
but it's very hard to steal my mind.
Have you had any, development spiritually in any way? A new faith that you've discovered, a new, whatever it is, new form of meditation or yoga or anything like that?
No, but I've certainly been paying more attention to nature and things like that. So, like, again, I don't know how much stock. Again, it just could be pure coincidences, but I see, over the past year or so, I've seen ravens a lot. I've seen recently lots of dragonflies, like, just flying over me, things like that. But again, that could just be pure.
You're telling me about the dragonflies. That's really fascinating. I think our audience would like to hear more about that if you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, look, again, it could be just time for dragonflies right now, but they're typically in my backyard. They'll come by, they'll fly over my head, kind of, then spin around and go back. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens fairly frequently. So I don't know. Again, I have no. It could just be a coincidence. And there's, like, if you look at dragonflies, like, there's a lot of, like, significance to them, but again, I am a math and science guy, right? Like, this is just a data point. What the data point means, I don't have any data to really. I mean, it's also because I'm paying more attention to nature, right? That I can say with 100% confidence. Like, I've been more, intentional when I go outside and I look around. But yeah, I don't know how else to explain it. But again, it's just.
Well, the dragonflies are significant when you research near-death experiences and spiritual matters, that they come up, and so as do fireflies. So
wait, you said fire. Wait, you said fireflies was the second one?
Fireflies, dragonflies,
Okay.
butterflies, and owls. Although owls seem to be just as associated with alien interactions.
That one I've had. I had before I went to that Tonopah, like, Mitzpah hotel, I had a dream about, like, this great owl, like, gray sort of thing, but that's it.
Now what was the owl?
No, I can't even, I can barely remember. It just, like, appeared, like, but it was a big, kind of almost human sized. It's just like, but it was an owl. Like I'm not saying an owl is not an owl. It was an owl.
Well, the old line from Twin Peaks, the owls are not what they seem. There seems to be a real deal. And aliens, during alien abductions, people, they'll have their minds wiped. And if they do remember the aliens, they will only remember a screen memory, often of an owl, often of a overlarge owl.
So this was in Lake Tahoe that I would have had the dream, and it was just prior to driving down to Tonopah.
And how long ago was that?
July.
Okay. Okay. So of the year that you saw the orb or whatever it was,
Same, like, yeah, it was a month ago.
have you noticed seeing more dragonflies recently?
Yes. Yeah, I saw 2 or 3 days ago, 4 of them.
Wow.
Something
Okay.
like that.
I mean, to me, it sounds like you may have something going on there. You might be vibrating at a higher level and you're ready for greater interaction with the higher planes of existence. You know, you might want to consider, meditating or whatever practice appeals to you. You know, I found a local Reiki group and that really, really helped me a lot. But whatever appeals to you, whatever works for you, you might consider trying to flex those muscles and seeing what develops.
Yeah, and again, like I'm reaching on some of these things, right? I want to be clear.
That's okay. I mean, it's all a reach until they come down and tell us what
Right.
the deal is. We're gonna have to reach. So that's why I want enlightenment. I want to go directly to the beings and find out what the deal is. So, but there's different modalities for finding out what the deal is. I would love it if an alien ship just landed on the White House lawn and said, here's what's going on.
Well, that's the frustrating thing. Like, this stuff is not, it's not clear cut. And I'm somebody who likes things like black and white. Like, this is not, the experience wasn't one that I would put in a bucket of black and white. It was, yeah, there was an element of the surreal to it. So, like, I'm not going to say that it, like, if somebody put me on a, if I had to swear on oath, I would say I think I saw it, but I'm not 100% certain.
Another thing you might try, since you've begun having these experiences, is going to places that are famous for having a lot of more of the positive interactions. Like, don't go to Skinwalker Ranch. That's the place of infamous negative interactions. But go to somewhere like Mount Shasta, if you know what that is.
I did in April, in March.
Okay, so that's before you saw the
that's when a friend and I tried to do the CE5 thing.
Okay,
but it was not effective because there were just too many people.
Maybe
there are too many people, like too many people doing other things. Like, they weren't there, like they were going to climb Mount Shasta, but we probably went there at 1 to 3 a.m. and just tried to meditate, tried to follow that protocol, and nothing happened. In fact, I made a video about Mount Shasta, but the purpose of going to Mount Shasta was to try to do that, and nothing came out of it. Like, it was a complete and utter bust.
Maybe it didn't appear at the time, but maybe you were able to elevate yourself spiritually in some way, or your conscious, however you want to phrase it, your consciousness expanded, or whatever phrasing appeals to you, and that has assisted you on your journey that you're now on.
We'll see, but again, I'm like a hard science, like,
hey,
buttoned up guy that
I went from an atheist to a Kundalini awakening in 3 years. So, and I lived all my life as a total atheist, not even believing in, anything non-mundane, no aliens, no nothing. But here I am.
Yeah, like I said, but like, somebody came into my house and was like, "What did you really see?" And I talked them through this, and they came up with some like swamp gas like explanation. I'd probably be like, "All right, well, talk me through it. Like, let's." And if they came up with a drone, I'd be like, "No, 100%. I bet my life it's not a drone." But if they came up with, at least drones as we know it, with propellers and a thing like that. But if they came up with some electromagnetic disturbance, that happens once in 70 years or something like that, I would be willing to entertain that, right? Because I really don't know. Well, all I can describe is like a sphere, like orange yellowish with a reddish orange fringe. So
that sounds so cool.
again, it happens so fast, man. Like I still, it's hard to.
Yeah.
I would have to see it again to like really. I'm in the open to this sort of stuff kind of stage, but I still don't know what I saw. If that, like, I'm not positive what I saw, right? Because it happened so fast.
Well,
So I would love to see it again. I would love to
Yeah.
see it again, right?
Right. But it does sound like you're positive that it was a real thing.
There was a light. There was definitely like, you
Right.
know, that it happened, but it
You
happened
saw
so
something.
fast.
It wasn't a drone. It was not a trick of your imagination.
Right.
So yeah. So I think you had a genuine
I was
encounter.
completely sober. I'm not on any medication.
Right.
I don't drink. At least I drink rarely, but I certainly wasn't drinking that night. I don't do any drugs. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, again, like, even if I had a camera on me, I wouldn't have been able to. It happened faster than I would have been able. Even if I was aiming my camera, it happened faster than I would have been able to hit the shutter to capture it.
I think that's awesome. I kind of want you to try to investigate it more and to do CE5 to see if you can bring it back.
No, I'm absolutely going to keep trying. Like I'm definitely going to try. Like I'll go out tonight for sure.
Would you go to Mount Shasta again and see if that sparks anything?
Yeah, the one issue with Mount Shasta is that there are too many people around for it to work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we went at like an absurd hour, like 2 to 3 a.m. and there were people like parked there and like going through their gear. There's lots of commotion. And my understanding of CE5 is it's something that the collective group has to all agree that they want to have that experience. And if there's somebody there who doesn't want to have that experience, nothing's going to show up. And I think if I had to diagnose why it didn't work, I mean, part of it is one of my friends was like, he's too cold. He says, well, I'm going to go back into the truck. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to sit out here. I'm fine. Like, I can be cold all day long. But there was just there were too many people on the periphery just making, and, I'm sitting there with my flashlight, I'm not confident that it would be, there's just too many people. You got to go someplace where there's nobody.
There's been one place I've been wanting to go, and in fact, I was planning to go there this year, but it would have conflicted with my friend's ayahuasca retreat, and that's ECETI. Do you know what
Where's
I'm talking
that?
about? Yeah, it's in Oregon. James Gilliland is the owner of the ranch, which is this property.
What's it called again?
He calls it ECETI. I forget what that means. Capital letters ECETI. So I think extraterrestrial contact, something, I don't know. So yeah, people in the comments, let me know what ECETI stands for. But it is overlooking a mountain. And it's high up. I think it's on a mountain, but it's overlooking this certain mountain that has a lot of UFO activity, like a whole lot. They have lots of videos, lots of pictures. And it's the sort of activity that Mount Shasta also has, that it's not strictly the nuts and bolts stuff. It's also the metaphysical variety as well. And so there's a lot of metaphysical consciousness experiences that people have there. And he's opened it up. You can go there and, for a fee, obviously, and, camp out on the property and have your own experiences. And he has sky watches and he has a few events every year. And there's one particular one that he has that I was planning to go to, but it conflicted with my friend's ayahuasca retreat. And, but yeah, it's another one of these places that has a lot of, it has a lot of activity, and most of it is of the positive variety. Because I would look for places like that as opposed to the darker, scarier places that have the negative stuff.
I kind of also want to go to Skinwalker Ranch because I'm curious.
Yeah, I would, yeah. If they gave me,
but again, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea how to get invited there.
Right,
but the thing that intrigues me about that is, I mean, it would probably be. It could potentially be dangerous for me because what it does is that, I maybe I'm just shining myself, but I'm a pretty aggressive, direct guy, right? And I was a warrior, like literally a warrior. And I think it may have been on your show. Yeah, I think you did cover it, where they Brandon Fugel brought on I can't remember, a musician, and his bodyguard like went catatonic for like 10 minutes.
I remember that.
Oh, so I'll relay the story. So this is Brandon Fugel told about this story. There was a famous rapper that lives in Utah. I don't know why I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he brought like an entourage to visit Skinwalker Ranch, and he had this guy with him, his bodyguard. He was like 6'6", former Hell's Angel guy, right? Like a mean man, like a mean son of a bitch, right? Alpha male, very,
Oh yes,
very,
yes. I think I know. Yeah, I know this one. Yeah, but yeah, keep
and
going.
he he got up out of his car, and everybody else moved in and sat down and had something else. And Brandon Fugel came back out, and the guy was just standing there, like staring into space. And Brandon Fugel's like, "You okay?" He's just like, "Oh yeah, that was really weird. Like, how long have I been out?" He's just like, "You've been out for 10 minutes." So the lesson from it is, and this also happened if you read the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, that book, which I highly recommend, which is an account of the Defense Intelligence Agency's study of the phenomena.
It's the next book on my list.
The phenomena. You need to read it today, brother. Like it,
Okay.
but you're not gonna be able to sleep. But like, I mean, they go into as far as describing the phenomenon there as like a virus. So there's the phenomenon has an R naught. You know what an R naught is, right? This is the hitchhiker effect. So like the hitchhiker effect spreads like a virus. So like if your kid's at school, like one of the intelligence agent's kids saw like a canine, like a bipedal canine, like scratching on his trees in rural Virginia, because his father brought it back with him.
Right, I remember.
And the family doesn't know because it's classified information, so he can't tell them about this stuff. This stuff just shows up at the household. But kid tells another kid at school about it. His friends at school start seeing the thing. And you can actually map this out like the coronavirus, right? It's got an R naught, which is the degree of like how fast it spreads. So it's pretty creepy stuff. But the point I was trying to make is the phenomena appears to, like, you had these guys who were deployed in Afghanistan, so like Marine intelligence guys, naval intelligence guys, that the phenomenon came on pretty hard on these guys because they were warriors. So I don't know, but it would be worth checking out. I'd still be curious. Now, if you told me this, like the Skinwalker phenomenon was a demonic thing, I would be like, hell no. But if you say it's like interdimensional, extraterrestrial, I'm less scared by something like that.
Well, okay, so that is a really interesting phenomenon, what you're just talking about. Not just the hitchhiker effect, but okay, so, and it doesn't matter if it's paranormal or alien. I think this is the confluence of the two, in that if you have a negative reaction to something, if something paranormal happens out of the corner of your eye and you are afraid of it, it is going to become something scary. But if you have a positive interpretation of what you're seeing, it'll become something nice. So a lot of these events seem to be co-created. You are co-creating a lot of this stuff, which, is hard to wrap your head around. But there's a whole host of evidence for that.
So this is like consciousness studies, sort of.
Right. But this is actually in the UFO phenomenon as well. And like I said, the confluence of the two, because there's a huge crossover between the consciousness stuff and the alien stuff, which makes sense. If they're more advanced, they would also be more advanced in terms of their consciousness or their understanding of dimensions or what have you. So, and if, like Whitley Strieber says, they are from outside of our reality, then, goodness knows what they're capable of. But yeah, but that's something that comes up time and again, is this idea of co-creating these events, even in terms of alien abductions and alien, UFO sightings. Near-death experiences are co-created. So again, that's, a similarity between the spiritual and the alien. So, which is just, what does that mean? I
don't know.
It does seem to indicate that our consciousness is interacting with reality, or even the uber reality beyond our reality, and is able to do something. I wish I knew what that was.
What I'm probably going to do tonight is I'll set up a GoPro and put it on. I guess the problem with putting it on time lapse is you can start to miss things, but I can put it in the same location where it happened, and just put it on time lapse. And I doubt I'll see anything, but
okay, so yeah, all right, so yeah, I would love for you to do that, and I would love for you to if you wanted to do C5 or whatever, but it does seem like stuff is starting to happen for you.
Yeah, well, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't want to blow it out of proportion because
and you can't expect anything, and you can't rely on it to ever happen again. Like that's where I am. I've had all
right. That could be the last time I ever see it. Right.
Right. I can never have another experience, but but who knows? And I don't want to assume that it's going to happen, because I want to be grateful what I've already experienced. But I would really want to have more experiences.
Yeah, of course. I want to know if what I saw was real. Like, absolutely, I would want to experience that again, because I'm still doubting myself, right? Because it was so bizarre. Like, it was so surreal, right? Because I'll give you another. This is a creepier example, right? Because this is a physical story, and I can't believe I'm telling the story because it's a little bit disturbing. So when I was an undergrad, I was in the Stanford history department, and I didn't know anything about anything. Okay. To the point where I was in a stall, doing my business. And I had a textbook on my lap, and I was reading as I was doing my business. Okay. The stall that I sat in had a hole in it. You know what that hole is, right?
Glory hole?
Yeah, I didn't know what that was back then. So I'm sitting there reading. I can tell you the book. I can probably bring over the book. It was Digital Design. It was like an electrical engineering course. And I have the book on my lap, and I'm reading it. And I look out of the corner of my eye, and there's an eye in the hole. And I remember I looked at the eye for it felt like a minute, because I'm like, am I seeing an eye? What? And then I'm like, I finally my brain processed, you're seeing an eye, dude. I'm like, what are you doing? And I hear this British, oh, sorry. And he zooms out of the, closes the door of the bathroom. And then of course I just got some toilet paper and wadded it up. I'm like, what the heck just happened? But that is the closest feeling I had with this phenomenon, right? I'm seeing this thing, but I what?
Right.
So that's why I'm kind of, but I definitely saw the eye, and but it took me a while to register that there's an eye in the stall.
Right.
Because you don't expect to see an eye.
That's not what you want to see in the stall. Yeah. No,
but again, I had the book. I was fine. They didn't see anything. They and I didn't see anything else either. They didn't stick something else in there before they stuck the eye in.
Who would do that? That is so creepy. Who the hell would find?
I didn't know that. That's how I learned what a glory hole was.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, that's not what it's for. But don't.
Wait, that's not what what's for.
Glory hole.
Well, yeah, it's not for the eye. It's for something. It's for
Yeah, it's
something
not for
else.
the eye. Yeah,
Yeah, but you got to
using-
check before you got to check before you like
You're using it wrong, fella. Yeah, yeah.
no. Probably not, right? Because he's like, look, I don't know what the protocol is, but I imagine there's like some sort of like consent.
Oh, you put your eyeball there, and if the other guy responds well,
Yeah, the other guy's like, yep.
okay, bring it on. Okay.
Yeah, you don't just like, what if there's a professor in there, right? Like,
yeah, I don't know the glory hole protocol. Yeah,
no, I didn't either. I just figured it out after that. So
yeah,
anyway,
okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
How
how else would it work? Yeah, when you think about
that's
it.
a horrible story to like, but that's the best. Like, what would you do if you saw, like, if you looked down and there was an eye? Still, like,
right.
like you wouldn't, like, you would have to you wouldn't. It takes a while to process that because you don't expect to see an eye in like the stall.
Well, it's like when I was ghost hunting and we were doing that particular investigation of the house. We had so much activity there. Those people looking at their security camera footage, when they saw the shadow people, I mean, talk about, 8-foot tall shadowy figures. I mean, how would they, I don't think I'd respond very well to that. Damn. No, thanks.
Yeah. So anyway, we are.
Yeah. It's time. It's dinner time for me, but I think we did really good.
Yeah, I definitely do. So thank you, everyone. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And if it turns out well, we might do many more. So
Sounds good. Later, guys.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.